Hey y'all. So I downloaded the demo for Starcraft because I wanted to see how it like would look and how you would use it. And this is pretty much shortcuts a lot with the exception to the icons and the color scheme and stuff like that. Um, I had recorded this earlier and I don't know what happened to the footage, so I'm gonna try to breeze through what you if you this is your first time opening this and you don't have shortcuts a lot. This is just like a overview, brief overview. So the buttons on the left side are pretty much the same. Um, you have your document, your positioning and size. You have your palette. You have your styles, as well as your text area on the left. And then underneath it, you still have your layers panel. And then you can change the color of the page the same way. So if I wanted to make this like if I was gonna do a gray shirt and I was visual, I could just change it to gray. I'm gonna change this back to white. Um, I went through the settings pretty much. It's and this is on Mac. I'm not sure how this will look on a PC, but all I really did was I leave the SVGs as it is, and then I just chose preferences that I pretty much I think I have on my shortcuts a lot. But you remember that with this particular program, you're actually connected to StarCraft, your StarCraft Pro, so you don't have to do much to just send it to it. Um, you have your undo, redo. I think it's your save or import, your export, your trace image, your library, and your preview. So I get that a lot of this is pretty much the same. One thing I wish they did was actually put the icon or the title of what each icon is underneath it, because you find yourself having to mouse over if you don't just visually see that this is save or this is um, export. The top bar is pretty much the same as well. So if you go to effects, you can see the drop down menu, the things you can play with. And on the right side, you still have your selection tools. And yeah, this is like a magic wand selection tool, I think. I haven't played with it that much, but you got your shape tools, which you could mess with your nodes. You have your text tool. You have a draw tool. You have a brush. You have a freehand drawing tool. This is your eraser. This is your shape tool. You have a dropper, which you can copy the fill and stroke of an object and put it onto another one, which is kind of cool. You have a gradient tool. This is your crop and knife tool. You got your transform or distort tool, as well as your stencil bridge. You have your rulers, and then you have your hand tool. And if you wanted to, you can change the you can change the rulers from inches, centimeters, and I think millimeters. Um, I'm gonna do something real quick. I did like I before, like I said, I had did some print cuts. I think I might be able to salvage one of them into another video, but I'm gonna do a quick one here. So as a demo for this, I was just curious how would it work with the short with the print cut, and I'm taking an image of Creative Fabrica, and I'm gonna use that one. This is pretty much the same as my last print and cut video that I did for Shortcuts a lot. Um, Pretty much all you do is um, trace the image and you make sure that it's highlighted. I have a lot of files up at the current time. You want to make sure that add layer image layer is selected. I don't need the inside of this, so I'm going to black it out. I want the outline of this as much as possible, so I don't need the inner birds. I'm not going to break it apart. and I don't really care about like all these little dots and stuff. So I'm gonna keep it in monochrome, and I'm gonna press OK. I'm just updating to see what the preview looks like. I guess in Shortcuts a lot, the blackout would have taken out the birds. Maybe it's this file, I'm not sure, but I'm just gonna go with it. I'm gonna hide the main one, and in this case, same thing as in Shortcuts a lot, I duplicate what I have so I don't have to start all over again from scratch to find another trace. I'm gonna click on this cut file and I'm gonna move it up. And for the purpose of this, I'm just gonna lock this where the picture is. Then we have the cut file is directly on the edge. I want to I want to go path, offset path, and I'm going to see a line that goes around the whole image. And I'll go with the inch right now. Press OK. And where I messed up right now was that I did not duplicate that cut file, but that's okay. So I'm going to hide this right now. I'm going to take this cut file, break it apart, and I'm going to go object path and union so that I can take out all the little bitty parts. Now, seeing as how I have these extra spots, I can bring it back, and I want to take the brush and I want to make all of these meet up because I don't need to have these extra spaces. And then go back to selection tool, select the three, and I'm gonna go union. I see a space here, so I'm gonna get that brush again. We hide this for a second. It should be the brush tool. Yes, it is. I want to cover all of this because I don't want to have any gaps in it. And then hold down shift, click all of the side ones that I just did, go path union, and then they all come as one. Then when I click back on the picture, you can see that there's a border around the whole thing. You can cover up this on my mind part, which I'm gonna do that. Just gonna click here, so it's not so drastic and it goes in with how everything else is. And then hold shift with the union path and click union, and then now it looks more fluid. And then if I click this right here where the preview button is, you can see my cut file, the outline of it goes all the way around. And then the printable part is the image that I have underneath. And if you click this, you can see what you'd actually be printing versus what you'd actually be cutting. Because the Starcraft Pro can cut out up to 16 inches, it just pretty much depends on how big your printer is. So if you print on a 13 by 19 sheet, so you have a cutter that prints out bigger, like 15 by something or 16 by something, if you have a roll or whatever, you would go wild. Um, like I said, this isn't rehearsed. I'm just doing this over. Um, any video that I do that has shortcuts a lot, if you have the StarCraft Pro, you should be able to follow along because I pretty much, especially if I do a voiceover, I say what I'm doing. Um, the biggest drawback for this is that they don't have the words underneath the icons, and I wish they did because it's kind of frustrating. And if not for the fact that I have shortcuts a lot, it'd kind of be hard to get around it, but it's not that big of a deal. Now, if you have any questions, let me know. Um, all the other videos that I did were my past videos that I did with crafty chats, where I was talking about shortcuts a lot as a beginner, where you can do vinyl and you can do rhinestones and stuff. The same thing still applies. You can still right click on it and then click appearance and then go to rhinestones. You can still make the template. And if you have a StarCraft Pro, don't be afraid to play with this software. It's not that bad. I hope this works out for anybody who's like new to StarCraft Pro and or people who were curious about the software like I was. And later, y'all.